Beautiful.
Good day, everybody, wherever you are in the world, morning, night, noon, on a spaceship, in a submarine, wherever you are, welcome to our meeting tonight. This is the Rotary Club of St. Petersburg International. Many of the people on the screen tonight have been here at one of our meetings before, but not all of them. So tonight we're expecting a large crowd because of the topic. And we also want to remind you, for the next 2 weeks after this, we are focusing on more ICC. We have ICC US, ICC Canada, and ICC Germany. All three are going to be talking in this week and the next two about their programs. So it should be interesting. If you're interested in ICC, this is the place to be. And we hope that you're going to enjoy our speakers. We think that both of our speakers we have tonight are dynamic. We think that they're going to be great. So last few weeks, as your president, I was a little bit remiss. I didn't get done my chore that I was supposed to do at the beginning of each meeting. So I'm going to take care of that chore right now so that we don't have to worry about me missing that chore again, because we wouldn't want that to happen. What I'm going to do is we're going to go through the four-way test as we do when we start all of our meetings. I'm going to read the four elements of a four-way test, and I would like for all of you, please turn on your microphones now. Everybody, please turn on your microphones now. Unmute yourself. Okay, just about everybody, almost. Okay. I'm going to read the four-way test of those things that we think, say, and do. The first one, is it the truth? Please repeat.
Is it the truth?
Is the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Fair to all concerned.
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all
Concerned.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate that. Our club just feels that there needs to be a little bit of tradition. So for the last few months, we've been doing that every meeting, just asking people to recite the four-way test, call it to their memory. I think it's one of the best things that I have seen in Rotary. I know there's a lot of good things, but I think the four-way test, remembering it and thinking about it once in a while, is very helpful to all business people and non-business people. Maybe we need to get our politicians thinking about it. You know, I'm not sure they will, but maybe that's a good idea if we got our politicians thinking about the four-way test. Maybe it would help our world relations. Let me get to my next slide, and I'm going to do my president opening comments because I want to get through mine and Randall's elements so that we can get into the meat of the meeting tonight. Let me see where I'm at here. All right. President's comments. It seems to me that the world is changing faster than we can keep up with it. As I watch the news each day, only for 30 minutes a day, that's all, and only an English channel. Unfortunately, it's CNN. But I grab a little bit of news I can, and I try to figure out what in the world is going on. What's going on with COVID? What's going on between the United States and China, United States and Russia, and other places? It seems like a whirlwind. It seems like things are happening so fast around the world, and things are changing so quickly that it's almost impossible for one person to keep up. So tonight, I'm very happy that we have a couple people to speak to us about the Russian-US ICC. It's additional people's viewpoints, and I'm sure with almost 40 people on with us here tonight, many of you have your own viewpoint. If we had hours, we could sit here and discuss everybody's different viewpoint on all the different issues, and I'm sure it would be interesting. I don't have the number, but if we've got 40 people and everybody's over 40 years old, most of you are, some of you are almost twice 40, I'm sure we probably got 2,000 different ideas what's going on out there just from the 40 people that we have here. We need to have a way to look at, excuse me, what's going on in the world And I'm not sure our news broadcasts do it. And we know that from experience that bad news sells. So that's why they put bad news on the newspapers, the TVs, the magazines. Most of the best-selling books that have been out in the last few years, if you go look at them as I have, I'm an author, so I watch that. Most of them have been negative books, talking about crisis, talking about problems, talking about things people did wrong. I wish we could get something that talked about what's going on good. As Rotarians, we need to keep focused on what is good because the people around us need that encouragement. They need that positive comments. They need those positive vibes. We got to spread that. So part of our calling as Rotarians should be that we are required to try to spread positive thoughts. If we do that, the world's going to be a whole lot better and we're going to have more cooperation around the world. So those are my opening comments. We will find out from the secretary what's going on, then from our two speakers, and then we'll be talking about a little bit of our project later on. But right now, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Secretary, and Randall, will you give us a little bit update on what's going on in the club?
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation today because I'm working from another computer in my kids' room. The internet is faster here. One thing I'd like to say is that we have with us today Olga Khumagorova, who's the head of the ICC, who's the head of the ICC movement within Rotary Russia, Rotary District 2223. So maybe at the end we can ask her to say a few words. She invited me to this morning at 11 o'clock to a meeting which I couldn't attend because of my Russian class. With DG Ildus, and DG Ildus was having a talk just about the ICC movement. And apparently Stan at 4 in the morning joined that meeting. So we can hear from Stan what was said. We are in this club not so well aware of ICCs, except that we can say over the past year, we've become very familiar by inviting you all to come to our meetings. It's a pleasure for us to have you with us, and we're happy that next week and the week after we'll be exploring this more. That's what I can say about ICCs. Within our club or district news, I noted something which is the current special representative to Russia, Michael Alberg, and the incoming special representative, who is Manoj Desai, have given us the opportunity as a pilot district to elect our next district governor for 2022-23. And so that was just announced this week in the Rotary newsletter for the district. And that's really all I have to say. So thank you very much, everyone who's on the screen, who's volunteered to speak to us in the future or already has spoken to us. Please share our newsletter invite with anyone you know who might be interested in the Rotary world so that we can expand our scope. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Randall. Later on, I think that you folks will be surprised also by seeing our lineup of speakers. Randall, the secretary, has been doing a super job from inputs from you people and on his own, both combined. And he's got speakers lined up all the way from now to the second week in June. Speakers are already lined up. How many clubs wish they had their speakers already lined up for the next 8 weeks? Probably most of them would like that, but I doubt very many have. So Randall has been doing a super job. So Randall, thank you very much for your efforts in lining up speakers for us. You've really been putting a lot into that. I appreciate it. Okay, let's go forward with our with our speakers. I'm going to introduce them in just a moment. And when I introduce these folks, it's a surprise to me that we have so much talent in Rotary. I mean, it's just amazing the amount of talent we have here. Let me get back to my page I want to get to. Oops, there it is. And we have a couple speakers tonight who are going to knock your socks off. Now, I don't know if you're looking at the gallery view, and if you are, you might be blocking part of Carmen. I'm going to move my gallery over to the other side. But two speakers tonight. We're going to have Carmen first and then Stanley. And just a little bit about Carmen. I'm not going to read her whole bio. It's rather long, but I'm not going to do that. But if you wanted to construct anything, construct a team, construct a project, construct something, this is the lady you want to contact. Contact Carmen. She has 23 years experience in construction management experience, okay? She's been doing it for a long time. So that's very important. She's also a major donor level 2 in the Rotary Foundation. She's also gets around a little bit, not just only in Houston where she's at. Also, she's been to Pradesh, India with the polio program. She's been to Nicaragua. She's been to Colombia. She's been to, where else do I have here? She has been to several places working to help Russian people in communities. The thing is, we find about her is that she is the past president of the Russian United States InterCountry Committee for 2019, 2020, and she's currently serving as their treasurer. So she started out, she's got construction background, she's got donation background, she's got international background in other countries, and she's thoroughly knowledgeable about the subject that we're going to be talking about tonight. So I'm looking forward to her, and I know I've seen her on screen and talked to her before, very enthusiastic. So I'm sure she's going to bring us a lot of energy. Her partner in crime tonight is Stanley. Stanley, he joined into Rotary late. He wasn't an early bloomer. He waited a long time. He didn't get in until April of 2000. And in his bio, he says he was so impressed by what he heard people talking about with helping Russia that he felt he needed to get involved. So he did. Within a couple of years, he was president of his local club. He has a MA in Russian language and literature from the University of Washington. He has worked as a fleet manager for the US-Soviet joint venture fishery in Alaska. Also, he was the US CFO for a joint venture log harvesting and export in Russia, Russia's Far East. He's also a Paul Harris +3 sustaining member and a member of the Bequest Society. So Stanley might have had a slow start or a late start, but once he got going, he got fired up and really went. So this evening we have Carmen and Stanley who will be giving your presentation. I'd like to turn it over to them. You can screen share from them and we're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to the group. I see a lot of familiar faces here, and I also see people that I have photos of in my slide. I hope nobody will be embarrassed, but I have been active with the Russia USA ICC since 2015. I met Judy Byron. She was planning a trip to Russia. It was going to be a friendship exchange, and I was all in after that. When I first thought about going to Russia, I thought I was thinking in the mindset of being a tourist. And I will tell you, when I came home from Russia, my heart was full with all the friendships that we made while we were there. I came back a completely different person and thoroughly enjoyed my trip, and I've just been hooked ever since. And I like to say that we need to engage Russia. It's serious fun for a serious purpose. And what do we do as an ICC? And I'm not going to go too much into this because I think Stan is going to talk about the history and stuff, but basically the important things that we do is provide information on current events in Russia. We develop relationships with Russian Rotarians, and we connect Rotarians to impactful programs. We have on the call here Natalia Kunzer, who is our open world staff member at RI. She could do a whole program herself. We engage in friendship exchange, cultural and service exchange, and youth exchange, and we should always engage Rotaract in all that we do. If I could do one thing better, is have more involvement with global grants, humanitarian and vocational training teams, partner in projects, and engage Rotaract in a deeper level. So one of the most important things that we're required to do as an ICC is educate our membership about the cultural and political situations of our partner countries. So in our case, Russia. And we have a great partner here in the United States with the Kennan Institute at the Wilson Center in Washington, D.C. And Charles Eberly first got us involved in going there, and they do a great educational program to educate us about Russia. So we have done this for several years in a row now, going to the Wilson Center, the Kennan Institute. And again, this is one of the primary things that we are required to do, is make sure the people that we're inviting to engage Russia understand about the political and cultural issues of the country. And the next thing we've done every year since Judy was president at least, is we've had a booth at the International Convention. And here is where we can engage Rotarians from all over the world in the United States and teach them about what we do as an ICC, teach people about Russia. Typically, we share our booth at the International Convention with any ICC that's associated with Russia. And here you see myself, Judy Byron, and of course, Stefan Stein. And for those of you who don't know, PDG Stefan Stein was my president's rep at my district conference in Corpus Christi when I was governor. And we were so pleased to have him visit Texas. Ask him about Texas. I hope he had fun. I firmly believe that friendship is the basis for impactful projects. Like I said, when I went to Russia the first time, I went with the mindset of a tourist, but came home with a heart full of friendships. I have been to all of these cities, some of them more than once: Moscow, Saint Petersburg. We went to the Crimea, Volgograd, Krasnodar, Irkutsk, Ekaterinburg, Kaliningrad, Sochi, Suzdal, and a lot of cities around the Golden Ring tour that I can't even mention. And the Golden Ring was absolutely wonderful. And we made lots of friends along the way. And I just have a few pictures to share with you about our experience. We went to Ekaterinburg, and this, when we went to Ekaterinburg, these folks in this photo, most of them that are Rotarians there, had already visited Texas. So we were doing the second part of a friendship exchange here. And there were 7 of us from Texas that went on this friendship exchange. We had a lot of fun there. There's so much to see in Ekaterinburg. And here we are at the Yeltsin Presidential Library with our friends here, ladies only in this picture. And I think you'll probably recognize some of these ladies here. We went to Volgograd. Again, this is my second trip to Volgograd. And here we are with people who came to Texas on a friendship exchange. And let me tell you, every place we go, everyone we meet, so warm and welcoming, and really helps to deepen these relationships with our Rotary friends in Russia. Another important part of traveling when you go to another country, either guests, Russians coming here or we going there, is to learn about the history of the country. And I personally think everybody needs to go visit Volgograd. It was very impactful. I think you saw my background is a picture I took while I was in Volgograd. I've been here twice, and both times went to all the beautiful museums there and learned a lot about the history there. We went off to Krasnodar, another beautiful city, another group of warm, welcoming Rotarians. And we also, at Krasnodar, we had a very deep cultural exchange here. And let me show you what we learned in Krasnodar. We learned about the culture here and how the arranging of marriages used to take place. And in these pictures you see, past District Governor Judy Byron and Charles Eberly, they became engaged and they were married in Russia. I don't know if you guys know that, but there it is. We have photographic evidence. I understand a divorce soon followed this, but it was a lot of fun learning about this culture in the Krasnodar region of Russia. We also went to the Crimea. This is a photo of the memorial that we went to. This is the 70th anniversary of the end of the Great Patriotic War. as Russia calls it, we call it World War II. And you may see me standing there about in the middle, and the gentleman standing next to me was 13 years old when Hitler declared victory over Russia. And we spent a full day of activities here learning about the Russian aspect of the war. And this was a wonderful event. And I really appreciated the opportunity to visit this place. And we had several clubs. We went to Simferopol, Yalta. We went to a lot of places on the Crimea this year, and it was really great. The museums there are absolutely gorgeous. So we also invited our friends to come to the United States. And again, you may see some of these Russian Rotarians here that came, and Charles Eberly again here to welcome them. These ladies are from the Rotary Club of Moscow East. And they went to Corpus Christi, met a lot of Rotarians there, welcomed by the mayor there in the middle with the tie. And we put up a peace pole. We engaged in a service project while they were here in Corpus Christi. I think this is a Habitat for Humanity home where the Russian Rotarians are helping the Texas Rotarians paint and do things on the service project. We also took them to tour NASA. I want to direct you to the gentleman on the far right. His name is Jack Bacon, very famous in Houston. He is a translator for the International Space Station, speaks fluent Russian, and so happy to welcome these Russian guests from Volgograd and Ekaterinburg. And on the far left, you'll see Philip Harris. He also worked for NASA at the time, also speaks fluent Russian, and this was a great trip. They were able to have a personal tour by these employees of NASA, I'm sorry. And one of the most exciting things I was able to do when I was governor is I received a call from the State Department about the Future Astronaut Program. They should have called it the Future Cosmonaut Program because all of the participants were going to be Russian high school students. So we had a group of 12 high school students from Russia. They had to go through an intense competition to be able to come here. And they went to the NASA Space University program, which is a week-long hands-on program at NASA. They went underwater they put on gear and everything and went through all the activities there at NASA. We, of course, entertained them. They were here during the 4th of July, so they were able to experience the most important American holiday, Independence Day. And again, I just want to say we have serious fun for a serious purpose, and I can't express that enough. I do believe that friendship is the foundation of good and impactful service projects. People are more willing to donate. They're willing to donate more when they personally know the people that they are dealing with. And I hope I haven't used up too much of my time, and I am going to stop share and let Stan take over from here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so do I just click on share screen? Okay, good. All right, everyone seeing that?
Yes, sir.
Is that being shared, Michael?
Yes, it is being shared.
Okay, great. Well, here you see, I took it right out of the RI website concerning ICCs. So obviously from Carmen's presentation, it's pretty clear, but nonetheless, I'll read it to you. A relationship between two or more international districts or countries working together to increase fellowship and intercultural understanding, foster stronger ties between members, clubs, and districts from different countries, and establish networks across borders. Certainly, the recent activities highlighted by Carmen show that we're doing just that. The first Russian club was chartered in Moscow in June 1990. Second club was chartered in Irkutsk a little later in that year, and soon after there was a club established in Saint Petersburg and one in Magadan. During the part of what got Rotarians in the Seattle area interested in Rotary, where I live, was the Goodwill Games in July 1990. I don't know whether many of you watched them on TV or remember them well, but they were quite a huge event in Seattle, and close to 1,000 athletes and Soviet citizens came over as part of the Goodwill Games, got visas, and Rotarians in the Seattle area found homes for them all, homestays for them all while they were here. And it exposed Rotarians to Russian citizens, Soviet citizens, and their athletes as they could never have been exposed prior to that. That created a lot of interest in Russia in the Seattle area. And we had good contacts with Alaskan Rotarians. And because of Alaska's history as a former Russian colony and its proximity to Russia's eastern regions, it got involved in helping form clubs and help them to develop as Rotary clubs in the eastern part of of Russia, the Russian Federation. And then what happened was eventually, I believe it was 2000 or 2001, Eastern Russia became part of District 5010, which included Alaska and the Yukon. And that was a long time. There was over 10 years. There was a district that covered Eastern Russia, Alaska, and the Yukon. I've seen on screen today we have Gail Nepper with us. I believe in 2007, 2008, she was district governor and made the rounds throughout Russia, visiting all of those clubs. And in June 2006, the first Russian district was established in 2220. Covered Western Russia, and there were 48 clubs and approximately 1,000 members. And then having a district prior to that, it's a district-to-district relationship to have an ICC. So the ICC was then established in 2007 at an event, at a conference about Rotary in Russia that was in Skokie, Illinois, right next to Evanston. And we went to Evanston for the chartering ceremony. And then we had a celebratory dinner that evening, and President Bill Boyd of RI was at the both at the chartering ceremony and was the keynote speaker at the dinner that we had. There were 50 to 60 US Rotarians and approximately 30 Russian Rotarians at that celebration. Here, I'm going to show you a few photos. Okay, let's see here. There we go. This was in 2006. A number of us from the US section or division of the ICC were in Moscow for the chartering ceremony. And this was on the left, you see past district governor from the district that used to comprise just Eastern Russia, the first district governor there, Vladimir Donskoy, who was very instrumental in the establishment and growth of Rotary in eastern east of the Ural Mountains in the Russian Federation. And there's a member of the Moscow East Rotary Club at that time. Here's at that same celebration, that same Rotarian from Moscow East, and Serge Gouteron. Serge was the president of the executive council of ICCs and was a charter member of the France-Russia ICC. He was past RI director. And of course, you know, you have to have a little bit of a celebration there when the new District 2220 was started. And there we are. On the right in that photo is Andrei Danilenko, who was the first district governor in 2220. Yours truly in the middle with the tie. How I still kept my tie on, I don't know, but and here we have on the left is a member of the Rotary Club of Krasnodar, Evgeny Novoselov. I mentioned in the earlier text, you saw something about from 1996 on, for a number of years, there were conferences in the United States, in various cities, about Rotary in Russia. And they continued just about every year up to the point where the ICC was established. And then the meetings of those promoting Rotary in Russia became basically the annual meetings of the ICC. There were delegations in 2007 and 2008 at both of the conventions, and there were teleconferences at that point. We didn't have Zoom for the regular periodic meetings of the U.S. section of the ICC. And starting in the June 2010, I showed a photo of that. Actually, here's a photo of that June 2010. There was an assembly, a district assembly or conference in Moscow, and it coincided with a festive evening celebrating 20 years since the establishment of Rotary in Russia. Here's a photo with there's Serge Gouteron on the left, and on the right is Bertrand Baranovsky. Many of you who have been involved in these activities know him because he's been closely involved in the France-Russia ICC, and we see him pretty much at every international convention. I remember at the 2011 International Convention in New Orleans, the Russian Rotarians put together a party for themselves and all their friends whom they invited, and it seems that that's been a tradition at every district, at every international convention since. And we're certainly looking forward to Houston in 2022 after 2 years of COVID, conventions not happening due to COVID. I'm sure that Carmen and her cohort there in Houston will put together a wonderful convention. So that's kind of gives you an overview of the history. I'm going to try to share one other thing if I can here. Just one moment, okay? So let's see. All right, good. So All right, so I didn't figure out how to flip this around, but this shows you the program from the conference that took place just outside of Chicago in Skokie, Illinois, when we had the conference on Rotary in Russia and the chartering ceremony. There you see the chartering ceremony was at 4 in the afternoon, 1600 hours right there. Anyway, let's open it up for questions. And there you have kind of the history and the recent activities of the US section. Well, not just the US section, but the Russia, US, ICC.
Yeah, Stan, will you close screen share now, please?
I will.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to open it up for questions. But before we ask questions, I've got a question both for Carmen and Stan. I'm the new boy on the block. I don't know much about ICC. Yeah, I'm kind of in the dark about it. What today in 2021, what is the advantage and what are we getting out of ICC today that we didn't have before, other than making new friends in Rotary? Besides making new friends, what else are we getting out of ICC? What's the benefit for it? And I apologize, but I'm a relatively new person, so most of the people on the screen probably already know a lot more about it than I do, but I'm curious as to the answer to that question.
Carmen, why don't
Yeah,
you go first?
I'd like to address that because why bother starting an ICC? Why would you do that? And the reason that you would want to start an ICC with any country is to gather like-minded people who are also interested in that country. And hopefully you can get some economies of scale with that by identifying people for the United States, all over the United States, who are interested in working with Russia. And this way you would have a greater impact. But as an ICC, we're doing the same programs basically that any Rotary Club or Rotary District would do. We're just focusing it with Russia, and that's, you know, the youth exchange. Encourage your district to do youth exchange, encourage your district to do cultural and peace exchanges. But the main benefit is to find people around the country who are interested in Russia and then promote that to people. And we, the Rotary Club of Moscow East, does a great job of putting together opportunities to travel to Russia. And we share those with people, and you can really make a meaningful impact by having these ICCs and this group of people who are knowledgeable that want to promote those relationships.
Okay. I still don't think that answers my question, but
well,
Stanley,
Michael, let me, I'll give you my perspective. You know, I read something recently where somebody described ICCs as kind of the embassies of Rotary. ICCs provide a vehicle for communication between Rotarians in the two countries involved in the ICC. And you know, I'm internationally oriented. I speak Russian, I speak French, and I was a volunteer interpreter at this conference on Rotary in Russia in Seattle before I was ever a Rotarian. And I was just absolutely blown away by what I heard them talking about and what they were doing with Rotarians in Russia. And that's why I joined. But international conventions, anyone who's been to an international convention knows the House of Friendship. It's just like, it's, for me, it's mind-blowing. I describe it to people as the UN at our level, okay? But you go to the international convention, you meet people, you get some cards, you exchange, and you might stay in touch, but there's no vehicle to maintain that communication with that country, and to, whereas ICCs provide that. And ICCs, I think, can be very valuable in promoting more intercountry work on projects, on exchanges, just the very kinds of things in our recent activities that Carmen highlighted in her presentation.
Stanley and Carmen, for both of you, the reason why I asked that question is because between David Fishman and Randall and a few other people who've been contacting me, they've been asking us about getting a little bit more involved in the ICC. As a spokesman for my club, if I'm going to be telling other people about ICCs, and especially the Russian US or the Canadian or the German ICCs with Russia, I want to be able to explain the impact, because I don't want to be able to tell them, well, we got together, we had some drinks, we had some fun, maybe we worked on a small project together or something of that nature. That's very good, but that doesn't seem like what I need to tell them. I want to explain to them something more, and that's what I'm looking for, because if I am going to be a spokesperson for someone, I do want to understand it clearly. That's why I'm asking. Carmen, go ahead, you comments.
Yeah, President Michael, there's one thing I wish that we did better as an ICC that you could actually help us with, Olga, anybody from Russia. I would like to see us do more projects together, be it global grants or just community service projects. But I would like to see a project board where we could go to some place and see what active projects are they looking for help on in Russia. And usually these only come out as emergencies. For example, the Rotary Club of Echo Baikal sent money to Houston during Hurricane Harvey because of the flood relief.
Right.
And then Texas, we sent money to Irkutsk because of their flood relief. Right. So these are things we heard about in the news and helped each other. But I would like to see us have a project board, be it a global grant or a community service project, that we could really start to participate with these projects. So that's one thing I would like to see help with personally.
Okay, and again, there are projects here that we are talking to people. We have our own little club here has a project that we're working on with children with cerebral palsy, and we were looking for donations. And a club in Texas said they stepped up to the plate and they said, "We'll sponsor one of the children's," and they sent us the money, and we got another child to go through the therapy because of them, because of Americans, and because of folks from Texas stepping up. That is great, but and what you're saying, if we had such a thing as a project board, it would be helpful. But I'm just trying to put it into words before I start telling people about this and articulating and going to meetings and talking about it. I wanted to understand a little bit more deeply. So I know that we would also like to influence governments, but we're not there yet. That's far in the future, maybe. Who knows? But right now we're trying to help each other's countries. So I'll back out and open the questions.
Michael, could I chime in here? I'm Greg Bartz. I'm with the White Bear Lake Rotary Club, and I'm actually president-elect for our ICC US division here. Okay. And Carmen, this is exactly something I've been contemplating, is how do we utilize our connections in the ICC to help make connections in Russia for projects? I'd like to see us become a clearinghouse, and exactly what you had mentioned. So this has been something I've got on my agenda moving forward into my term in July, is to have our group be that clearinghouse for anyone in the United States and Russia to make these connections for these projects. Because we're a diverse group, and it's more difficult for us as a unit to sponsor maybe a project because we're all over the country and all over the world here. So it's making those connections with my Rotary Club in White Bear Lake and a Rotary Club in Russia in a meaningful project. So that, anyway, that's what I see coming down the pike. That's what I was going to propose to our division of the ICC in hopes of putting that together moving forward. So Carmen, I'm gonna need some help with that, and I'll be leaning on you. Let's put it together.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Greg, for explaining a little bit of that. I appreciate it. Let's open it up to questions. I see Barton, one second, Ann. Barton, you got your hand up first. Barton, you got a question?
I don't have a question. I want to just make an observation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your focus on how you would sell us to your club, or for that matter, to a district. It's an issue. everything that's been said is accurate. Soft diplomacy, communication between people, but that's not going to deliver what we need. It's good, but it doesn't deliver what we need in terms of establishing those projects that Carmen talked about, or country exchanges. Those are the two leading things, country exchanges and projects. Now, one can't help but acknowledge the elephant in the room. And the elephant is the Rotary International, through Michael and the new gentleman from India, are looking at Russia for the long-term survival within Rotary. So one of the most important things we as ICCs can do is to look at how can we work together. And I'd like to see ICC, US ICC Russia, Canadian ICC Russia, German ICC, whoever else Russia has ICCs with, join together and back the Rotary desire to make Russia a great success in the Rotary family through projects and country exchange. And we have many, many projects under our belt already. I can only speak for myself. I've got 3 projects in Russia. One of them was $100,000 in Kirov for the Vyatka Rotary Club, very successful project. So we know projects can be done, but now we have to focus on, let's get a short list of, 2, 5 projects, whatever it may be, either in the United States or in Canada or in Germany or in Russia. And let's begin to work together and use this soft diplomacy and communication between people to help secure the long-term survival of Russia in the Rotary family.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Barton. And Frisch, you had your hand up next.
Yes, I'm also a White Bear Lake Rotary Club with Greg Bartz, and we have been doing some things without any money, just English and potentially Russian language conversations, 1-to-1 and 2 by couples together. We've had some very great successes and built some wonderful friendships. Doesn't cost us a dime, and it's worth $1 million. We have also connected the one Russian museum in Minneapolis with the Ekaterinburg Museum of Fine Arts. We're going to do some, we're not sure what yet, but some meetings in which we look at the artwork in each other's museum and try to promote wonderful Russian art. And do some explorations into history with the Ekaterinburg History Museum if possible. And I just think that's a wonderful, we've already had some initial meetings on that, and I think it's going to go and not cost us a dime. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of you on stage at Houston, because the story really needs to be told.
Thank you very much, Ann. Appreciate that. David, you had a comment. David Fishman?
Yes, building on what Barton has just said, we need to both find out what Rotary leadership has in mind and give them some new ideas to strengthen Rotary in Russia. One example is outreach to like-minded people who could become Rotarians. That's the business community. That's the legal community. It may in some settings be the medical community, and people will know in their own districts and clubs and other communities where the best outreach might come from. But we need to present this to Rotary leadership in a systematic fashion. And hopefully that will be beginning over the next month or 2 as we look towards the pre-convention days, now 2 days in June. And also staff advises we don't need to wait until June to start strengthening the ICCs. We can begin our outreach to the French, the Germans, the Canadians, the Italians, the Israelis, et cetera, as Barton mentioned, and let's do it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Anybody else got a hand up, want to have a question? Anybody? I don't see anybody on the first screen. Let me check the second screen, see if somebody's got a hand up that I don't see. I don't see any other. Oh, there you go. And Natalia Alexandrova.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Carmen and Stanley for all they said about the history of ICC. It's extremely important for all of us to remember how it started, what forms of events we had in Rotary through ICC. And the question comes naturally, what do you think can the new forms of events organized by ICC, whatever they are? What forms of events can there be in the conditions of COVID, considering that it may last and last?
Okay. Anne or Stan, would either one of you like to take that? Carmen or
Well,
Stan?
well, certainly that's a concern and a problem, and there hasn't been much of anything happening other than Zoom. On Zoom, we've had great communications
Right.
on Zoom, and we are maintaining communications, etc. And if I may, I'd like to make a comment concerning what Barton and Carmen said. I agree completely, and projects are critical and important. I've found that most of the clubs do little projects on their own and don't worry about trying to involve other clubs or use the grant programs particularly. And I understand that. I mean, it's easier, faster, simpler, but the resources are much less than they'd be if you tapped the Rotary programs and partnered with clubs in other countries. I have been trying to figure out how to do that. I've started discussions with Anna Tumanova, because Anna Tumanova seems to have her finger on the pulse of projects and prospective global grants, etc. And at our next meeting, I'm going to of our ICC U.S. division, I'm going to share what progress I've made in that way with our group. But they're absolutely right. Projects are the way to go, and our ICC has tremendous potential. Just think about this: we have 12 districts in our ICC. Each district in the United States has, let's say, give or take, 50 clubs. There are probably in those clubs 25,000 Rotarians, and there are probably 400 to 500 clubs. So it's not difficult to find partners in that large group and resources to apply. You mentioned that I spoke to at the coffee with the governor that they have monthly at your district, 2223, earlier today, and the Ildus, Governor Ildus did talk about making sure that we found projects here also to offer to the Russian clubs and the district that they might be able to participate in. So we could definitely have this working both ways. But I think showing people meaningful projects is probably the best thing we can do to help Rotary in Russia grow.
Very good. I would like to, don't see anybody else with their hand up. I'd like to address District Governor Ilus, if you will make a few comments about what was going on.
Good evening, Dave. Oh, I don't know, good morning, maybe in the United States now. Thank you for the invitation. It's a great pleasure me to participate. And I would like ask Stan to help me with translation. Is it possible, Stan?
Yes, I can translate.
Because I can make some mistakes and it could be follow for misunderstanding us. Дорогие друзья, я понимаю, что Rotary находится вне политики.
I understand that Rotary exists outside of politics.
Но это не означает, что мы находимся под политикой. Мы должны находиться над политикой.
It doesn't mean that we exist underneath politics. We exist above politics.
И все, что мы делаем, должно показывать нашим политикам пример того, что наши народы могут и должны дружить.
And what we serve as an example to those in the political sphere, that our peoples can work together and can have friendly relationships.
У меня есть очень маленькая история того, почему для меня эта дружба ценна, особенно между российским и американским народом.
I have a little story about why I am particularly interested in the ICC between Russia and the United States.
Мой отец находился в плену в концентрационном лагере в Германии, как военнопленный, как участник войны в 1944 году.
During the Second World War, my father was a prisoner of war in Germany.
И его зона, русская зона, находилась через колючую проволоку с американскими пленными солдатами.
His Russian section in the prisoner of war camp was right across the barbed wire from the American section.
И вы знаете, что русские военнопленные находились в очень жестоких, нечеловеческих условиях в то время, когда американские военнопленные, как он говорит, играли в волейбол, у них было и мясо, и шоколад.
The Russian prisoners of war lived in very harsh circumstances, and
они умирали от голода.
Across the barbed wire, the Americans lived quite nicely. They were playing volleyball. They had meat to eat. They had chocolate to eat.
И моему отцу один американский военнопленный солдат все время перебрасывал через колючую проволоку шоколад и мясные консервы.
And the American soldiers would regularly throw over the barbed wire fence the tins of tinned meat and chocolate.
И для меня это, видимо, отец мне сказал, что я, возможно, выжил от голода только благодаря вот этой поддержке неизвестного американского солдата.
And I believe my father and other Russian prisoners of war survived because of that help and support.
Потом он сбежал с этого концентрационного лагеря через Германию и Польшу, вернулся в Россию.
And then my father escaped. Oh, извини. My father escaped and then traversed Poland and got back to Russia, Germany and Poland, and got back to Russia.
И когда мне было 6-7 лет, он мне рассказал эту историю.
And when I was 6 or 7 years old, my father related this story to me.
И с тех пор я понял, что мы просто обязаны дружить, невзирая на то, как себя ведут наши политики.
And I've been convinced since then that we need to be friends, have friendly relations, regardless of what the politics are like.
И я прочувствовал всю дружбу американского народа, когда на велосипеде проехал 16 штатов, 8 тысяч километров, и я понимаю, насколько у нас большой потенциал дружбы.
And I have traversed 16 states and rode on my bicycle 8,000 kilometers in the United States. So I know very well how we can have friendly relations.
И ICC — это канал, это мост, channel, который позволяет нам увидеть и узнать друг друга лучше и действительно реализовывать совместные проекты.
And the ICC is a channel through which we can better get to know one another and work together on projects.
Я понимаю, что сейчас ротари в России достаточно слабо, и мы в большей мере, наверное, сейчас пользуемся поддержкой вот этих 25 тысяч американских ротарианцев, о которых говорил Стэн, по отношению к нашим 1000 человек, тысячи членам.
And I understand at this time, Rotary in Russia is rather weak, and we need the help of those thousands of Rotarians in the United States.
Но я мечтаю о том времени, и мы это сделаем, чтобы и российские ротарианцы участвовали в американских проектах.
And
поддерживали наших американских друзей.
And I look forward to having Russian Rotary clubs work with American clubs on projects and support projects there, as well as having Americans help us here.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Ildis. Appreciate that. Those stories need to be known, and I'll just share a very short, fast one. I went to Lake Ladoga with the director of the October Railroad, president of the company. He wanted to show me something. When we went to Lake Ladoga, there's a small museum up there, and inside are some wooden boxes. And what's written on the side of the box that's engraved in the wood? Hormel Meats. Now, where is Hormel Meats at? In the United States, right? During the siege, 900-day siege, which many people don't know about outside of Russia, the United States was shipping Hormel meats by the Baltic Sea to Lake Ladoga, and then by train being brought back to the city, feeding the people inside of Saint Petersburg during the siege, or the 900-day siege. A lot of folks don't know that story. There's a lot of small stories. I went to Vladivostok and found a locomotive that came to Vladivostok in pieces. Americans were sending locomotives during World War II to Vladivostok in pieces. Russians were putting them back together and using them to haul soldiers and supplies across Russia during World War II. I mean, there's a lot of little stories like that you can find if you dig into them. And that's one of the reasons why when I'm here, I don't ever hesitate to tell people about these, because the Russians, some of them know the stories, some of them don't know the stories, but we can build up that cooperation. It is possible. And I hope Carmen and Stan didn't take my first question as an objection. I was just trying to get to grassroots so that I can explain it more easily and more convincingly to those people who I talk to, who I correspond with, and so forth. I want to be able to be very clear about where you're headed and what you're doing. So I see it as a great possibility. We've got time for maybe one or two more questions, and then we're going to move on. Yes, Carmen, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to tell a quick story about how important it is, and Barton mentioned this, but when we had a friendship exchange here to Texas, there were 12 individuals, and we called it the Texas two-step because we went to Houston and San Antonio. And so I reached out, I'm not going to mention names or Rotary clubs, but when I reached out to the president of a Rotary club in the San Antonio area, my phone call was not returned, my email was not returned. And so I knew somebody in that area, and I sent my friend to go visit that club president. And so finally I got a phone call, and I said, I have 12 Russians that are coming in, and we need home hosting for these Russians, and explained to her. And she says, Russians? I said, yeah. She coming here? I said, yes. She's in our homes? I said, yes, Russians in your homes while you sleep. And it was funny because, so the Russians did come. They arranged for home hosting. They had a fire and a flood. And I called the president back. I said, I understand if you want to cancel. She says, no, we're not canceling. We want to welcome our Russian friends here. So when they finally came and we went to pick them up to bring them back to Houston, that lady told me, she says, Carmen, I don't care where you take these Russians, what you show them, they will never have as much fun as they did here in our city. So these in my own experience to Russia, these exchanges really do change hearts and minds. And they're really important because we hear too much about stereotypes on the news. And so we change hearts and minds through these exchanges, and they're so important.
Okay, very good. And again, another story to be added. Thank you very much. And I think there are more stories to be added, not only from World War II, but during the Cold War. I'm sure there was many things going on where we didn't know about who was helping who, or who was trying to make things cooperative between these things, who was the peace. I know when I was growing up, we heard about Mr. Arm & Hammer. Mr. Arm & Hammer was going back and forth between the United States and Moscow frequently, as an ambassador doing things. We don't know what his message was. He was a private citizen, but for some reason he kept going between Washington, D.C. and Moscow. So I'm sure there were some things going on that he was trying to help. So we can make an impact as civilians, as non-military, non-political people. We can make an impact. It's just a matter of putting it together and coordinating it. Antonina, one more question. Your last question, Antonina, go ahead, and then we need to move on.
It is my comment to lack of work that Russian Rotarians can do on international stage. I believe that there is not only monetary help available, but also professional and professional expertise that many bright Russian Rotarians have. And I know from scientific world, we are very far from politics. In scientific world, we are above politics in our connections. So the same, I believe, that richness of intellectual potential of Russian Rotarians can definitely contribute on any scales between Russia and United States or between Russia and Canada. So this is just a comment, because in cooperation, not always money matters, but professional expertise, yes, as well.
Thank you, Antonina. Thank you, Antonina. Just to back up your story, when I came to Russia in 2004, the people here did not know what the Toyota production system or lean technology was. I've been here for 15 years, been to many, many different countries and helped put it in Russia for the last 15 years. You can bring your expertise as a skill over here and help the Russians also, not just through Rotary and not just through the ICC, but in your profession. And Randall and I and Walter and several folks from our club, we know other professionals who have come to Russia and give their services to here. Some as lawyers, as we know, and other people. So it can be done. Okay, on behalf of everybody, I would like everybody please to turn on your microphones for a moment, if you will, please. We need to do a little something here that we would normally do in a live meeting, but it's hard to do when you're not live meeting. Turn on your microphones, please. Yes? Got a few still going? Okay. I would like for all of us to give Carmen and Stan a round of applause for their good presentation and introduction. You can hear it. You can hear it.
Thank you.
Thank you both very, very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on board and informing us. And we're going to look forward to the next 2 weeks because we got Germany and Canada coming after you. So we're interested in hearing from them and what's going on also. By the time we get through these 3 weeks, I know I will know a lot more about ICCs than what I knew before. I know a little Russian history. I know a few things going on, but I don't know enough. So I need to get into that. While we were just talking about, and you were all, I was biting my tongue because I didn't want to say anything. I have to be very careful with what I say. In the program, we have our own project. This is our club project here in St. Petersburg. It's the Rotary Club of St. Petersburg International's project, and we are working with a child's rehabilitation center where they have children with cerebral palsy. You see the young man on the right, Goran, he came in a wheelchair and they had to pick him up to lift him to the tables for the therapy. He could not walk at all. And he went through the therapy because of our donations and our help with the center. And we saw him walk with braces on his leg, but saw him walk 2 weeks ago for the first time. It was amazing. The smile was from ear to ear, and he was so happy. You know what he told the receptionist? He told the young receptionist, "I want to marry you." How cute. He was so enthusiastic. He was so excited. When he entered, he could not walk at all. When he left, he was walking with braces. He probably will be back in another 6 months, maybe to do more therapy and hopefully get rid of those braces. But he's now able to move around on his own. The little girl on the left, she is a new project for us that we had just recently got into. Polina has just been funded about 3 weeks ago. So her therapy is just starting, and it will be between 3 to 6 months of therapy. The Children's Rehabilitation Center is not only a center that helps the children, but you need to understand that they were rated number 3 out of 193 organizations helping children in Russia. It was rated by the Russian government as to openness of their books, their credibility, their staff, their facility. They were rated number 3 out of 193. It's a very, very nice place. It's a very good place to go to see what can be done to help children. This place is getting children to walk again. There should never be children who cannot run and play with their classmates. It's terrible. But when these children come here, they go through the therapy between 3 to 6 months worth, and at least one parent has to be with them, because after the 3 to 6 months, those parents have been trained to do the therapy at home, and they need to continue the therapy so that the growth will continue. And then maybe 6 months or a year later, if more is necessary, they come back. But some children don't need to come back because their parents do a good job with the therapy. It's a very comprehensive child and parent program where they give the children the therapy and the parents get trained. It's a very, very good thing. It takes us, or not us, it takes sponsor for the children about 2,500 euro, 2,500 euro per child. And so far we've gone through 2 and we're working on our 3rd one. So certainly we have a project that we're open to if anybody wants to make donations. We have a little bit of a problem with it. I will explain here in just a moment. Let me get out of here so I get back to the screen. Some of the people, some of the clubs in America, and even one of the ICCs has contacted us and says, why don't you start a grant and we can all put together in a grant and help more children this week, because there's a large quantity of children that need this. Right now, our club only has 9 members. Nobody in our club, including myself, is certified to do a global grant. So either myself or one of our other members would have to go through the training and then be certified for it. We did do a global grant. We do know how they function. We did one 6 years ago, but you all know the global grant criteria has changed an awful lot in the last 6 years. And you need to get somebody in your club who is certified. So if we do that, and then we put it all together, maybe in a year or 2, we don't know how long, before the global grant would be completed. In the meantime, what we're saying is that as people are making donations to us, and many, many have, we've got 2,000 from one place, 500 from another, 100 from another. We're putting all those together. And every time we get 2,500 euro, we go to the school and we say, we have another child, and we help another one and another one. We've got 2 so far, and we're working on the 3rd one. We probably will sometime in the future do a global grant, but that's down the road because we have nobody here certified. So we have to do that first. Yes, Stanley.
Michael, suggestion. In Saint Petersburg, you certainly have 2 or 3 other Rotary clubs at least.
Yes, for sure.
I would, and Olga Holmogorova is on line with us. She could probably confirm this, but I'm sure that one of those other clubs probably is qualified to do global grants. So I would suggest you look at talking to them and they could be the lead club for the purposes of getting the global grant done. And, you know,
It's
and
possible.
Anna Tumanova, I tell you, Anna Tumanova is a resource. I mean, Olga Holomogorova is too, but she's more charged with the looking over and working with the ICCs. Anna Tumanova is, I'm not certain, but I think she might be the Rotary Foundation chair for the district. And she definitely seems to have her finger on the pulse of the how to get projects done in that district, and also get district designated fund money to projects.
Right. Well, I don't know how long grants take today, but when we did ours 6 years ago, it took us a little over 2 years from when we started until we actually saw the money and actually was able to give it to the place. And matter of fact, it was the exact same place. They needed machinery to build the specially designed soles for the shoes. They were doing it manually, which was very, very difficult. And we bought them a machine that now they scan the feet of the children, and it gives them a model for the shoe, for the first walking shoe for these children now. $62,000 project. We got 5 different countries involved. We did it. But right now we don't have anybody who is quote unquote certified to do that. But I will certainly contact them. I wrote down their names here. Also, Natalia is on the screen with us here. Natalia is the president of one of the local clubs here in St. Petersburg. But we just want everyone to know about our project. We're a small club. We've got one project and we're working on it. And we appreciate the help. Some of you have already donated. Some of the people on the screen have already donated. So we really, really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. But we want to keep it going. We want to continue to help these children. When you are there and you see that child walk for the first time, like we saw Goran, your heart's gonna melt. I mean, it just melts. It's the fact that he couldn't even stand on his own before, and now he can. So it's very, very helpful to the community. And this is the type of project that gets some recognition with the local community forefathers of the local community to see that we are helping the local community. We're not just doing something for fun or for friendship or whatever, but actually making an impact in the local community. And that's very, very important. So it's one of the things we're working on. Thank you very much for your comments, Stan. We'll look into that. All right, we're almost getting near the end of our meeting. I know several of you people want to run. I got one more major thing to, oops, I went the wrong way, excuse me. Got to go this way. All right, coming up for us in the near future, 14 April, Judy Byron going to talk to us about Canada, Russia, ICC. So we went from we went from United States to Russia ICC. Now we're going to Canada, Russian ICC next week. Same time, same place. We'll be right here. After that, we got Denenthal, George Denenthal, who's going to be doing the German-Russian ICC. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to hear a whole lot more about that. And then bring it up in April, we'll have Sharon Tennyson finish up in April. May is already set. And as you can see, we're halfway through June. This is because Randall has been working very hard with a lot of people, some of you on the screen and others, to get speakers to come to our meeting. This is something that we're all working very, very hard for. I would like to point out that in our club, we are very small, but we feel that we're providing a service. We're providing a theater or a source for you all to go to. Today, we had up to at one time 41 people on board. For a 9-member club to have 41 people attending, that's unheard of. I mean, that's just super. So I'm very, very happy and very appreciative that you're willing to come here to hear our speakers and hear what we have to say. We need to continue the cooperation to find out how we can grow Russia with the world, all the different ICCs, to make it grow Rotarians here in Russia, because we don't want the mandate that we're under so many years that we have to have it going. We don't want that to come and go and be lost. We want to put all those efforts in place. And it's going to take input from many, many, many people, many, many countries. So we're just trying to provide a vehicle, or if you will, using a modern terminology, provide you a funnel. We hear that all the time nowadays, You had marketing, you got to have funnels. We're providing a funnel for you to get information and to find out about what's going on here and what's going on in other places. And we appreciate your help. If you continue to come to our meetings, we will continue to provide speakers. And if one of you would like to be a speaker in the future, please let us know, because there are many, many interesting stories. After hearing Ilda's talk about his story tonight, I was just thinking maybe I should do one of these weekly sessions and talk about all the different stories that I already know about cooperation between the United States and Russia and Canada and Russia. I've heard several already, so maybe that needs to get out. But I think you folks already know those things are going on. We know that we were on the same side during the war and afterwards. So we'll have to see how that pans out. All right, I'm about 4 minutes away from closing the meeting. Any other comments from anyone else? And I'd like to, if you'll hold off for just a minute, let me ask my members, my own members here first. Walter, do you have any comments or questions, Walter?
No, thank you very much. It's been nice and interesting as always. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Randall, any comments or questions? Randall? You're muted, Randall, you're muted.
Sorry, I just want to thank everybody for coming and remind you that you can come next week as well. See Judy.
Very good, thank you. Rami, any comment, Rami?
No comments, thank you.
Okay, very good. And for those of you who may be new to us or don't come often, you need to know that the people we just heard from were from Germany, Canada, and UAE, and I'm from the United States. So most of our members are not Russians. Irina is one of our few Russian members. So most of our members are expats who are working here. We have them from Germany and Switzerland and other places. So we're here trying to keep the connection going, and we're doing the best we can. Want to thank everybody for coming on board. We had a meeting tonight for an hour and a half, and that was our target. We're about 2 minutes before we get to our end. So thank you all very, very much for coming. If you have a cup of coffee, a glass, a beer can, if you've got anything, if you have something to drink with, and I know not everybody does because not everybody's prepared, but if you have something to drink with, I'd like to make a toast. We're all in the ship together called life. And if we, the Rotarians, do not teach others how to row the oars to keep the boat going so that we stay afloat, our boat will sink. So here's to the Rotarians who will keep the oars rowing and help everybody. Hear, hear.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you all very, very much. One last thing to do. Oh.
Nice.